Chapter 1. The Hidden Power of Small Wins. Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain. At first glance, it feels impossible to climb. The peak is so high, the journey so long, that doubt creeps in before you even take the first step. Now imagine, instead of looking at the peak, you just focus on taking a single step, and then another. Over time, those steps accumulate until, almost without realizing it, you're much higher than you ever thought possible. That's the magic of small wins. The secret truth is this: your life is not built by massive overnight transformations, but by the tiny, almost invisible choices you make each day. Most people overestimate the power of one big decision and underestimate the power of thousands of small ones. Think about it. When someone loses weight, writes a book, builds wealth, or creates a life they love, it didn't happen from one lucky break. It happened because of repeated choices: showing up at the gym, writing a page each day, saving a little money each week. Pause and ask yourself, what's one small win you achieved today without even thinking about it? Did you drink water instead of soda? Did you send that one email you'd been putting off? Did you take the stairs instead of the elevator? These are not just minor actions. They're the very bricks of the life you're building. The law of compounding habits. There's a powerful principle at work in your life right now: compounding. Just like money grows with compound interest, so do your habits. A small positive choice repeated daily doesn't just add up, it multiplies. If you improve just 1% each day, by the end of the year, you're not 365% better, you're over 37 times better. But the same is true in reverse. Neglecting small actions compounds too. Skip the workout, eat poorly, procrastinate daily, and over time, that decline becomes visible. Here's the key: success is not the result of one giant leap, but of consistent, tiny wins stacked together. Shifting from goals to systems. Here's where most people go wrong. They set big goals. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to write a book. I want to double my income. But goals by themselves don't get you anywhere. Systems do. A system is what you do every day. For example, goal equal write a book. System equal write 500 words every morning after coffee. Goal equal run a marathon. System equal put on your running shoes and jog for 15 minutes daily. When you commit to systems, the results take care of themselves. Pause for a moment and think, what's one system you could start today that would make tomorrow better? Why small wins matter more than motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Some days you feel unstoppable, other days you can't even roll out of bed. If you rely on motivation alone, you'll fail. But habits, those small wins, don't need motivation once they're built. Consider brushing your teeth. You don't wake up needing motivation to brush your teeth. It's automatic. Imagine if eating healthy, saving money, or reading daily became just as automatic. That's the power of habits. The domino effect. Small wins trigger a chain reaction. One tiny victory can set off another, then another. This is called the domino effect. Think of it like this: if you just make your bed in the morning, you feel a little accomplished. That small accomplishment might give you the energy to tackle your workout. After your workout, you're more likely to eat a healthy breakfast. That healthy breakfast helps you focus at work. And by the end of the day, you've stacked an entire tower of wins, all starting with one simple domino. So ask yourself right now, what's one small domino you could tip over tomorrow morning that might set the tone for your entire day? The truth about overnight success. People love to talk about overnight success. The viral video, the instant millionaire, the breakout author. But here's the reality: every overnight success is years in the making. Those small wins were stacking in silence, hidden from the world, until one day they became visible. The world sees the tip of the iceberg. But you and I know the real work happens below the surface, in the quiet consistency of daily wins. Your small wins start now. Here's the challenge I want to leave you with. Don't wait for tomorrow, or next Monday, or the perfect time to begin. Take one tiny action today. Drink one glass of water, read one page of a book, walk for 5 minutes. Start with something so small you can't fail. And once you succeed at that small win, repeat it. Let it grow. Let it compound. Before long, you'll look back and realize the mountain wasn't conquered in one leap. It was climbed one step at a time. Pause and reflect. What's your first small win going to be today? If you're finding value so far, share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more chapters. Your journey is just beginning. Chapter 2. Identity over outcome. Think back to the last time you set a big goal. Maybe it was losing weight, paying off debt, or learning a new skill. Chances are you started with excitement and motivation, but after a while, you hit resistance. The goal felt heavy, progress seemed slow, and eventually, you slipped back into old patterns. Here's the truth most people miss. The problem isn't your willpower. The problem is your focus. You've been aiming at the wrong target. Most of us focus on outcomes, the results we want. I want to run a marathon, I want to write a book, I want to quit smoking. But outcomes alone don't stick. If you want real, lasting change, you have to aim deeper. You have to start with identity. Why identity is the core of change. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. And whether you realize it or not, you act in alignment with that story every single day. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll keep overspending. If you see yourself as not athletic, you'll avoid exercise. If you say, "I'm just not disciplined," you'll never try to build better habits. But here's the good news. Identities are not fixed. They're choices, built one habit at a time. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Pause and ask yourself, what story have you been telling yourself about who you are? And is that story lifting you up or holding you back? The difference between goals and identity. Let's break this down. Outcome-focused goal. I want to quit smoking. Identity-based shift. I am not a smoker. Do you see the difference? One focuses on what you want to achieve, the other focuses on who you are. When you see yourself as a non-smoker, every time you turn down a cigarette, you reinforce that identity. Each decision is not just about resisting temptation, it's about casting another vote for the person you want to be. This principle applies everywhere. Don't just try to run a marathon. Become the kind of person who never misses a workout. Don't just try to save money. Become the kind of person who respects every dollar. Don't just try to read more. Become the kind of person who values learning. Stories that transform. Think about Michael Jordan. He didn't just identify as a basketball player, he identified as someone obsessed with excellence. That identity drove him to practice longer, play harder, and push beyond limits others accepted. Or take Oprah Winfrey. Her identity wasn't just a talk show host. She saw herself as a voice for growth, empowerment, and truth. That identity carried her through decades of reinvention. The world remembers their outcomes. Championships, success, influence. But those outcomes were the byproduct of deeply rooted identities. How to shift your identity. So how do you change your identity? It starts small. Decide who you want to be. Don't just pick an outcome, define the type of person who achieves that outcome. I want to lose weight becomes, I am the type of person who chooses health daily. I want to be financially free becomes, I am the type of person who manages money wisely. Prove it with small wins. Each action you take is a vote for that identity. You don't need unanimous votes, just consistent ones. Eat one healthy meal. That's a vote for being healthy. Save $10. That's a vote for being financially responsible. Write one page. That's a vote for being a writer. Repeat until belief follows behavior. At first, it may feel like you're faking it, but over time, your identity shifts to match your actions. The battle of competing identities. Here's a challenge most people face. Your old identity doesn't die quietly. If you've been telling yourself for years that you're lazy, or undisciplined, or unlucky, those beliefs will fight to survive. That's why building habits is not just about repetition, It's about reinforcement. Each small win chips away at the old identity and strengthens the new one. Pause for a moment and think. Which identity are you feeding more? Your old story or your new one? When identity aligns with action. The most powerful people in history didn't just achieve great outcomes, they embodied great identities. Gandhi didn't just lead protests, he became the very embodiment of nonviolence. Steve Jobs didn't just build products, he became the symbol of innovation and design. When your actions and your identity are aligned, you become unstoppable. You're no longer forcing yourself to act, you're simply living out who you already believe you are. The first step is now. Here's the invitation for you today. Stop obsessing over the outcome and start asking a deeper question. Who do I want to become? Once you answer that, every small win becomes more than just progress. It becomes proof. Proof that you are becoming the person you want to be. Pause and reflect. Who is the person you want to become? And what's one action you can take today to cast a vote for that identity? If you're enjoying this journey, share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for the next chapter. Your identity is your destiny. Let's build it together. Chapter 3. The Science of Habit Formation. Picture this. You wake up, roll out of bed, grab your phone, and check your notifications. You don't even think about it. It just happens. Later, maybe you stop at a coffee shop on your way to work. Same order, same barista, same routine. These actions feel automatic, almost invisible, yet they're shaping your life more than you realize. But what's really happening inside your brain when habits form? And how can you use that knowledge to build better ones? The science of habit formation reveals something extraordinary. Habits aren't random. They're structured. They follow a predictable loop. And once you understand this loop, you hold the master key to redesigning your life. The habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Neuroscientists have discovered that every habit you have follows a simple pattern called the habit loop. It looks like this. Cue, a trigger that tells your brain to start the routine. Craving, the desire or urge to act. Response, the actual behavior. Reward, the benefit your brain gets, which teaches it to repeat the loop. Let's make this real. Cue, you walk into the kitchen and see a plate of cookies. Craving, you want the sweet taste and energy boost. Response, you grab one and take a bite. Reward, your brain feels pleasure, and the loop is reinforced. Over time, the brain learns to anticipate the reward. Eventually, just seeing the cookie or even walking into the kitchen can trigger the craving. Pause and ask yourself, what's one habit in your life right now that you can clearly see fits this loop? Why habits save brain power? Your brain is a survival machine, and survival requires energy. That's why your brain automates as much as possible. It saves energy for what really matters. Think about driving. The first time you sat behind the wheel, it was exhausting. You had to think about every detail: mirrors, signals, pedals. Now, after years of repetition, you can drive while singing along to music, sipping coffee, or planning your day. That's the power of habit. The same principle applies everywhere: tying your shoes, brushing your teeth, typing on a keyboard. Once a habit forms, it shifts from the conscious mind to the subconscious, freeing your mental energy for other things. The danger? Your brain doesn't distinguish between helpful and harmful habits. It automates both. Which means if you don't design your habits intentionally, you'll drift into patterns that don't serve you. The brain's reward system. At the center of habit formation is dopamine, a powerful chemical messenger in the brain. Dopamine is often called the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite accurate. It's really the anticipation molecule. It spikes not when you receive the reward, but when you expect it. That's why cravings are so powerful. When your brain expects a reward, whether it's sugar, social media likes, or a hit of caffeine, it releases dopamine. That rush drives you to act, even before you get the reward. Now here's the breakthrough. You can use dopamine to your advantage. By designing your habits so they're rewarding, you can train your brain to crave behaviors that actually serve your life. Breaking down everyday habits. Let's apply this to some common routines. Habit: scrolling on your phone at night. Cue: you lie down in bed. Craving: mental stimulation or distraction. Response: you open social media. Reward: dopamine hit from likes, comments, or news. Habit: going for a morning jog. Cue: your running shoes placed by the door. Craving: energy and sense of accomplishment. Response: you jog for 15 minutes. Reward: endorphins, confidence, momentum. Do you see it? Whether destructive or empowering, the loop is the same. The only difference is how you set the cue: craving, response, and reward. Pause here and reflect. Which habit loop in your life could you redesign to produce better outcomes? How to use the habit loop to your advantage. If you want to build good habits, make the loop work for you. Make the cue obvious. Place your running shoes by the bed, set your book on the pillow, or put a water bottle on your desk. Make the craving attractive. Pair the habit with something you enjoy. For example, only listen to your favorite podcast while working out. Make the response easy. Start small. 2 minutes, 1 page, 1 push-up. Make the reward satisfying. Celebrate the win. Track your progress, or treat yourself. If you want to break a bad habit, reverse the process. Make the cue invisible. Make the craving unattractive. Make the response difficult. Make the reward unsatisfying. This isn't theory, it's biology. And once you align your habits with the way your brain actually works, transformation becomes natural. The invisible architecture of your life. Here's something powerful to consider. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And those systems are built on habits. Right now, your habits are quietly constructing the architecture of your life. Brick by brick, loop by loop, they are shaping your health, your wealth, your relationships, your mindset. The question is not whether you're building through habits, but what kind of structure you're creating. Your turn to take control. You now know the science, you understand the loop, and you have the power to rewire it. So here's your challenge. Pick one habit in your life and map it out. Cue, craving, response, reward. See the loop clearly. Then ask yourself, how can I tweak this loop to serve the person I want to become? Pause and reflect. What habit loop will you redesign this week? If this chapter opened your eyes, drop your insights in the comments, like this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next step in your journey. Chapter 4. The First Domino. Starting Small. When people dream about changing their lives, they imagine grand transformations, losing 50 pounds, writing a bestseller, doubling their income. The vision is huge, exciting, and often overwhelming. And because it feels overwhelming, most people never begin. But here's the truth. Every mountain is climbed one step at a time. Every skyscraper is built one brick at a time. And every life transformation begins with one tiny habit. Just one small domino that sets all the others in motion. The myth of needing motivation. Have you ever waited to feel motivated before taking action? Maybe you thought, I'll start exercising when I feel more energetic. I'll start saving money when I feel ready. I'll start writing when inspiration strikes. But here's the secret. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. Waiting to feel ready is a trap, because you'll almost never feel ready. Imagine a heavy flywheel, like the kind in old factories. At first, it takes enormous effort just to push it a little. But with each push, It spins easier, faster, smoother, until eventually it spins on its own. That's what habits do. The first push is hard, but once you get started, momentum takes over. The power of starting small. Here's the strategy that changes everything. Make your habit so small it feels impossible to fail. Want to build a reading habit? Start with just 1 page. Want to exercise? Start with 2 minutes of stretching. Want to meditate? Start with 30 seconds of silence. At first, these actions seem almost laughable, but that's the point. The smaller the habit, the easier it is to start. And once you start, momentum builds. Pause and ask yourself, what's one habit you've been putting off because you made it too big in your head? How could you shrink it down to a 2-minute version today? The 2-minute rule. One of the most effective techniques for building new habits is called the 2-minute rule. It works like this. Any habit can be started in under 2 minutes. Instead of run 5 miles, it becomes put on running shoes. Instead of study for an hour, it becomes open the textbook. Instead of eat healthy all week, it becomes chop 1 vegetable. Here's the magic. Once you're in motion, you often keep going. You may start by intending to put on your running shoes, but since they're on, you might as well jog around the block. You may only plan to read 1 page, but 1 page turns into 3, then 10. The 2-minute rule removes the friction of starting, and starting is always the hardest part. The psychology of tiny victories. Why do small wins matter so much? Because they build confidence. Each time you follow through on a small habit, you prove something important to yourself. I can do this. It's not about running marathons. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts. It's not about writing 300 pages. It's about becoming the kind of person who writes consistently. Every small win is evidence for your new identity. And the more evidence you gather, the stronger that identity becomes. Pause for a moment and reflect. What identity are you building with the small wins in your life right now? The domino effect in action. Picture a row of dominoes. A single domino can knock over another one that's slightly bigger. Line them up, and a small domino at the start can eventually topple one the size of a skyscraper. That's how habits work. One tiny action sets off a chain reaction that leads to massive change. Making your bed each morning can trigger a day of productivity. Drinking water first thing can lead to healthier food choices. Writing 1 page daily can result in a finished book. It's not the size of the first action that matters. It's the direction it sets. Why perfection isn't the goal. Here's another trap. Waiting to do something perfectly. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress. When you demand the perfect plan, the perfect time, the perfect conditions, you never start. Instead, focus on starting badly but consistently. A messy beginning is infinitely more powerful than a perfect plan never executed. Remember this: imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. Real-life stories of small starts. Many of the world's greatest achievements began small. J.K. Rowling wrote the first chapters of Harry Potter in a cafe, scribbling while her baby slept. Starbucks started as a single coffee bean shop in Seattle. Amazon began with Jeff Bezos shipping books out of his garage. None of these started as empires. They started as small, almost unimpressive beginnings, but those beginnings multiplied. What about you? What dream of yours could begin with one tiny, humble step today? Your first domino awaits. Here's your challenge. Stop looking for the finish line. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Pick one habit. Shrink it down to its smallest version. Push over that first domino, because once you tip it, momentum will do the rest. Pause and reflect. What's the first domino you'll push over this week? If this inspired you, let me know in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more chapters. Remember, your small wins are the seeds of your future success. Chapter 5. Designing your environment for success. Take a moment and look around the space you're in right now. What do you see? A desk piled with papers? A fridge full of snacks? A phone within arm's reach? Buzzing with notifications? Here's a truth most people overlook. Your environment shapes your behavior far more than your motivation or willpower ever will. You may think you're making choices out of discipline, but in reality, your surroundings are silently nudging you every single day. The key to building better habits is not to rely on endless willpower. It's to design an environment that makes success the path of least resistance. How environment beats willpower. Let's do a quick thought experiment. Imagine you're on a diet trying to eat healthier. In scenario 1, your kitchen counter has a bowl of fresh fruit. In scenario 2, the counter is covered with chips, cookies, and candy bars. Which version of you is more likely to succeed? It's not about strength of character, it's about proximity and visibility. We tend to choose what's in front of us, what's easy to grab, what requires the least effort. Pause and ask yourself, what's currently visible and easy in your environment that might be pulling you away from the person you want to become? Make good habits obvious. One of the simplest ways to encourage a new habit is to design your space so the cues are obvious. Want to drink more water? Keep a full bottle on your desk. Want to practice guitar more? Leave the instrument out on a stand, not hidden in a case. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow so you see it before bed. Your environment should constantly whisper, "Here's the habit you want." Make bad habits invisible. On the flip side, if you want to break a bad habit, don't fight temptation, remove it. Trying to eat healthier? Don't stock the pantry with junk food. Want to cut back on social media? Delete the apps or log out after each use. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it or move the remote to a different room. When the cue disappears, the craving weakens. Out of sight, out of mind isn't just a saying, it's a strategy. Reshape your spaces. Your home, office, even your car. They're all habit zones. Each environment can either reinforce the person you want to be or pull you back to who you were. In the kitchen, arrange healthier foods at eye level. In the living room, put books or a journal where you normally place the remote. In the workspace, keep distractions out of reach and tools for focus front and center. Don't just hope your environment supports your goals, intentionally shape it so it does. Pause and reflect. If a stranger walked into your space, could they tell what your priorities are by looking around? The people in your environment. Your environment isn't just physical, it's social. The people you surround yourself with are some of the most powerful environmental influences you'll ever encounter. If your friends spend weekends drinking, it's harder to build a fitness habit. If your coworkers complain all day, it's harder to stay positive. If your family dismisses your goals, it's harder to stay consistent. But the opposite is also true. Surround yourself with people who are already living the way you want to live, and their habits will rub off on you. You don't rise to your level of ambition, you fall to the level of your environment, including the people in it. Real stories of environmental shifts. Think of athletes. The reason they train at elite facilities is not just equipment, it's atmosphere. Every wall, every coach, every teammate reinforces discipline and progress. Or consider someone quitting smoking. If they spend all their time around smokers, the temptation is constant. But if they change environments, new routines, new friends, the habit becomes easier to leave behind. Change your space, and you change your behavior. Change your circle, and you change your life. Design for friction and flow. Here's a simple principle. Make good habits easy and bad habits hard. Want to practice piano? Put it in the middle of the living room instead of the basement. Want to save more money? Automate your savings so it happens without thought. Want to stop late-night snacking? Store treats on the highest shelf, wrapped and out of reach. Habits thrive on ease. The fewer steps between you and the action, the more likely you'll follow through. And the more steps you place between yourself and a bad habit, the harder it becomes to indulge. Becoming an architect of your future. Most people let their environment control them. They drift into habits because of what's convenient or visible. But you don't have to drift. You can become the architect. Your environment should be a silent partner in your success, a constant reminder of who you are becoming. Don't underestimate the power of rearranging a room, changing your workspace, or choosing different company. These small tweaks create massive ripple effects. Pause for a moment and ask, what's one change you could make in your environment today that would make your desired habit almost automatic? Your next step. Here's your challenge. Pick one environment where you spend a lot of time, your bedroom, your office, your kitchen. Make one simple change to make good habits obvious and bad ones invisible. Stack enough of these changes together, and you'll find that success isn't about discipline anymore. It's about design. Pause and reflect. If your environment stayed exactly the same for the next 5 years, where would it lead you? If this chapter gave you clarity, drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for the next step in mastering your habits. Chapter 6. Stacking Habits for Momentum. Have you ever noticed how one small action can set off a chain reaction? You hit snooze, which makes you late, which makes you skip breakfast, which makes you cranky at work. Or, on the flip side, you drink water in the morning, which gives you energy, which leads to a healthier lunch, which leaves you more focused the rest of the day. This domino effect isn't random. It's the hidden power of stacking habits, linking one behavior to another so momentum builds automatically. The secret of habit. Stacking works because your brain loves routines. When something becomes automatic, your mind looks for what comes next. By attaching a new habit to one you already do consistently, you ride the momentum of the old behavior into the new one. It's like a train already moving down the tracks. You simply attach another car and let it carry forward. Here's the formula. After I, current habit, I will new habit. After I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. After I hang up my coat after work, I will immediately change into workout clothes. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works. Pause and ask yourself, what's one daily habit you already do without fail that could become the anchor for something new? Why stacking works better than willpower. Most people fail at building habits because they rely on willpower. But willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. That's why you might be disciplined in the morning, but cave in at night. Habit stacking bypasses willpower. You don't have to decide when or where to do the new habit. The existing habit decides for you. The old habit becomes the cue, and your brain follows the script automatically. Small stacks lead to big change. At first, your stacks should be tiny. Don't try to build an entire skyscraper of habits overnight. Start with one small addition. After I close my laptop, I will take a 5-minute walk. After I wash my face at night, I will read 1 page of a book. After I sit down at my desk, I will write the most important task of the day. One small stack at a time may not feel like much. But remember, small wins compound. Building chains of momentum. Here's where it gets exciting. Once you've stacked one habit successfully, you can link another onto it. This creates a chain of momentum that can transform your day. Imagine this morning routine. After I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 2 minutes. After I stretch, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I meditate, I will write down my top 3 priorities. In less than 10 minutes, you've built a morning that sets the tone for success, all because you stacked habits like building blocks. Pause for a moment and think. What would your mornings look like if you stacked just 3 small habits together? Avoiding overload. Now, a word of caution. The temptation is to stack too much, too fast. You get excited and suddenly try to add 10 new habits at once. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, master one small stack at a time. Let it become automatic. Only then should you attach another habit. Think of it like adding weights at the gym. You don't pile on everything at once. You build strength gradually. Stories of stacked success. Consider someone who wanted to start journaling but never found the time. She decided to stack it onto her nightly tea ritual. Every evening, as soon as she brewed her tea, she opened her journal and wrote one sentence. One sentence grew into paragraphs, and eventually, into a deep reflective practice that changed her mindset. Or take the busy professional who wanted to get fit but kept skipping the gym. He stacked a mini routine onto his commute. Every time he walked in the door, he dropped his bag and did 10 push-ups. That one stack turned into a full workout habit. Success didn't come from motivation. It came from linking new habits onto ones already anchored in daily life. Stacking for identity. Here's where stacking becomes truly powerful. It reinforces identity. If you want to be a reader, stack reading onto an existing bedtime ritual. If you want to be healthier, stack stretching onto brushing your teeth. If you want to be more mindful, stack a gratitude practice onto your morning coffee. Each stack not only builds momentum, it casts another vote for the person you want to become. Designing your first stack. Let's get practical. Think of one habit you already do daily. Something as simple as brushing your teeth, brewing coffee, or checking your email. Now decide, what tiny new habit could you attach to it? Write it down in this format. After I, current habit, I will new habit. That's your first stack. Test it for 1 week. Let it feel effortless. Then, when it's solid, attach another. Your momentum starts here. Success doesn't come from one big leap. It comes from stacking small, consistent actions until the weight of momentum is on your side. So here's your challenge. Create your first stack today. Let one habit pull the next, and let momentum carry you forward. Pause and reflect. What's the first habit you'll stack this week, and what existing routine will you attach it to? If you're finding value in these lessons, share your stack idea in the comments, hit like, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Chapter 7. The Role of Reward and Emotion. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the last time you did something that made you feel genuinely good. Maybe it was finishing a workout, hearing a compliment, or ticking off a task from your to-do list. Notice how your body felt lighter, your mind clearer, your mood lifted. That feeling wasn't just in your imagination. It was your brain rewarding you. And that reward is exactly why habits stick. Why rewards matter more than discipline. Here's something most people misunderstand. Habits don't form because you know they're good for you. They form because they feel good. Think about it. We all know exercising, eating vegetables, and saving money are good for us. But we don't always do them. On the other hand, we know eating junk food, binge-watching shows, and scrolling endlessly might not serve us, but we keep doing them. Why? Because the unhealthy habits provide immediate rewards, pleasure, distraction, comfort, while the good habits often delay their rewards. That delay makes it harder to stay consistent. Pause and ask yourself, which of your habits stick because they feel instantly rewarding, and which ones fade because the payoff seems too far away? The brain's reward system. Deep inside your brain lives a powerful system that reinforces behaviors. When you experience pleasure, your brain releases dopamine, the anticipation chemical. This isn't just about the reward itself, it's about expecting the reward. That's why you crave the cookie when you smell it baking. Why you reach for your phone when you hear a notification. Why you can't wait to open a gift. The dopamine rush primes you to act. And here's the breakthrough. If you want to build lasting habits, you have to design them so your brain feels rewarded immediately, not just someday in the future. Celebrating small wins. One of the simplest ways to make habits stick is to celebrate small wins. Each time you complete a habit, give yourself a micro reward. Smile. Say out loud, "Yes, I did it." Mark an X on a calendar. Play your favorite song. These tiny celebrations signal to your brain, "This feels good, let's do it again." It may sound silly, but emotion cements habits. The stronger the positive emotion tied to the habit, the faster it becomes automatic. Pause for a moment. How often do you actually stop and celebrate your small wins? Or do you rush past them, waiting for the big outcome? Designing rewards into habits. Let's make this practical. If you want a habit to stick, pair it with a reward you enjoy. Want to exercise? Only listen to your favorite podcast while at the gym. Want to study? Reward yourself with a piece of dark chocolate after finishing a session. Want to write daily? Track your streak on a visible chart. It feels good to see the chain grow. By linking the habit with a reward, you create anticipation. Your brain starts looking forward not just to the outcome, but to the process itself. The danger of negative rewards. But be careful. Sometimes the rewards we choose sabotage the very habit we're trying to build. For example, exercising, then rewarding yourself with junk food. Saving money, then splurging so much you undo the progress. Working hard, then binge-watching until you lose sleep. These kinds of rewards backfire. They reinforce the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Instead, make sure your rewards align with your long-term identity. Emotion is the glue of habits. It's not just the reward itself. It's the emotion attached to it that matters most. Think back to childhood. You probably remember moments of joy or embarrassment more than anything else. Why? Because emotion etches experiences deep into memory. Habits work the same way. If the habit feels good, if you experience pride, satisfaction, or joy, you'll want to repeat it. If it feels like punishment, you'll resist it. That's why punishing yourself for failure rarely works. If every time you try to diet you feel deprived, your brain will fight back. But if eating well feels energizing, colorful, and enjoyable, your brain will naturally crave it. Reframing the process. Here's a mindset shift that changes everything. Stop seeing habits as chores and start seeing them as gifts. Exercising isn't punishment. It's energy for your future self. Saving money isn't deprivation. It's freedom in disguise. Reading isn't homework. It's expanding your mind and opportunities. When you attach positive meaning to the habit itself, the reward becomes built in. Pause and ask yourself, what's one habit you've been treating like a chore that you could reframe as a gift? The fast track to lasting habits. If you want to make your habits unshakable, here's the formula. Start small so the habit is easy. Pair it with an immediate reward so your brain craves it. Celebrate the win to attach positive emotion. Reframe the process so the habit feels like a privilege, not a punishment. Do this consistently, and your habits stop being battles. They become part of who you are. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Take one habit you're trying to build right now and design an immediate reward for it. Something small, simple, and satisfying. Then celebrate every single time you follow through, because when habits feel good, they last. Pause and reflect. What's one new reward you'll add to your habit this week to make it stick? If you're learning something valuable, share your answer in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more chapters on mastering your habits. Chapter 8. Breaking bad habits without willpower. Think about a bad habit you've tried to quit before. Maybe it was biting your nails, scrolling on your phone too long, eating late at night, or spending money impulsively. You probably told yourself, "That's it. I'm done. This time I'll stop for good." And maybe you did stop. For a while. But sooner or later, the old habit crept back in. You felt frustrated, maybe even guilty, and you wondered, why can't I just use willpower to quit? Here's the truth. Bad habits don't break because of willpower. They break because you design smarter systems. Willpower is weak when compared to environment, cues, and rewards. If you want freedom from destructive patterns, you have to rewire the loop, not just fight against it. Why fighting habits doesn't work. The mistake most people make is trying to use brute force. They resist the craving, grit their teeth, and hope for the best. But resisting temptation is like holding your breath underwater. You can only last so long before you give in. Bad habits are not just behaviors. They're solutions your brain has found for a craving. Comfort, distraction, relief, stimulation. You can't simply rip them out. You have to replace them with something better. Pause and ask yourself, when you slip into your bad habit, what need is it really meeting? Comfort? Escape? Connection? Step 1. Make the cue invisible. Every habit begins with a cue. If you want to break a bad habit, the first step is to remove or hide the cue. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it, or take the batteries out of the remote. Want to cut back on junk food? Don't buy it in the first place. If it's not in the house, it's not in your mouth. Want to scroll less on your phone? Keep it in another room during meals or work. Out of sight, out of mind is not just a phrase. It's a powerful habit-breaking tool. Step 2. Make the craving unattractive. Your brain repeats habits it associates with pleasure. To weaken a bad habit, reframe it as something negative, even repulsive. Instead of seeing smoking as stress relief, visualize the damage it does to your lungs with every puff. Instead of seeing overspending as fun, think of the debt, stress, and lost freedom it creates. Instead of seeing procrastination as relaxing, remind yourself it's stealing tomorrow's peace. When you attach pain to the habit, the craving loses its power. Step 3. Make the response difficult. The harder it is to do something, the less often you'll do it. If you want to kill a bad habit, add friction. Struggle with late-night snacking? Put the snacks in a locked container, or place them high up so they require effort to reach. Spend too much time on apps? Delete them, or log out every time so signing back in feels like a hassle. Overshop online? Remove stored credit card info so every purchase requires manual entry. Friction is your friend. Add enough of it, and bad habits naturally fade. Step 4. Make the reward. Unsatisfying habits survive because they deliver some kind of reward. If you want to break one, make the reward less satisfying. Get an accountability partner. If you break the habit, you lose money or owe them a chore. Track your progress on a calendar. If you slip, you feel the disappointment of breaking the streak. Replace the habit with one that gives a stronger reward. Instead of stress eating, go for a quick walk to clear your head. It leaves you feeling better, not worse. The key is not just to punish failure, but to make success more rewarding than the old habit. Replace, don't just remove. Here's the most important truth. You can't erase a habit, you can only replace it. If you stop drinking soda but don't replace it, you'll feel deprived and eventually relapse. But if you replace soda with sparkling water or tea, you still satisfy the craving in a healthier way. If you stop checking your phone out of boredom, but don't replace it, the boredom remains. But if you replace it with reading, journaling, or a quick stretch, the need is met. Habits are like rivers. You can't stop the water from flowing, but you can redirect the stream. Pause and reflect. What bad habit in your life could you replace, instead of just trying to remove? Real-life transformations. Consider the person who wanted to quit smoking. He didn't just throw away cigarettes, he started jogging whenever the craving hit. The jog satisfied the craving for relief and gave him a rush of endorphins. Or the woman who used to overspend every weekend. Instead of fighting the urge, she redirected it. Every time she wanted to shop, she transferred money into an investment account. Watching the balance grow became more satisfying than shopping ever was. These weren't battles of willpower, they were smart rewires of the habit loop. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress. You will slip. Everyone does. The key is not perfection, it's resilience. When you relapse, don't waste time on guilt. Instead, ask, what triggered this? How can I adjust my environment so it doesn't happen again? Remember the rule, never miss twice. If you fall today, restart tomorrow. The faster you bounce back, the stronger the new pattern becomes. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Pick one bad habit you want to break. Map out the loop cue, craving, response, reward. Then redesign it. Hide the cue, reframe the craving, add friction, remove the reward. And most importantly, replace it with something better. When you stop fighting your habits and start rewiring them, you win without needing endless willpower. Pause and reflect. Which bad habit will you replace this week? And what new habit will take its place? If this gave you insight, share your answer in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more steps toward your transformation. Chapter 9. The Compound Effect of Consistency. Imagine placing a single penny into a jar today. It doesn't look like much. Tomorrow you add another penny. Still nothing impressive. But what if you kept going? Day after day, week after week, year after year. Eventually, that jar would overflow. This is the hidden magic of consistency. The truth is, small daily actions don't just add up, they multiply. And over time, their impact becomes extraordinary. Why consistency beats intensity? Most people chase intensity. They think success comes from big dramatic efforts. A crash diet, a weekend productivity sprint, a burst of motivation. But intensity fades. It burns hot, then burns out. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet. It's not flashy. It doesn't get applause right away, but it's relentless. It builds momentum day after day, and eventually, it wins every time. Pause and ask yourself, are you chasing intensity, or are you committed to consistency? The math of small improvements. Here's a simple equation. If you get just 1% better every day for 1 year, you don't end up 365% better. Thanks to compounding, you end up 37 times better. But the opposite is also true. If you decline by just 1% each day, your progress shrinks toward zero. That's the compound effect in action. Tiny choices repeated consistently create massive results, good or bad. The story of the bamboo tree. There's a parable about the Chinese bamboo tree. You plant the seed, water it daily, and for years, nothing happens. No growth above the soil. Most people give up, thinking it's pointless. But in the 5th year, something incredible occurs. The bamboo shoots up more than 80 feet in just a few weeks. Here's the question. Did it grow 80 feet in weeks, or in 5 years? The answer is 5 years. All that time, the roots were developing, hidden beneath the surface. Your habits work the same way. You may not see results right away, but every act of consistency is building invisible roots of strength. And one day, the breakthrough will be visible to everyone. Why people quit too soon. The greatest tragedy is not that people fail, it's that they quit too early. They diet for a month, don't see results, and give up. They save for a few weeks, don't feel richer, and stop. They start a new skill, struggle at first, and quit. But what if they had kept going just a little longer? What if the results were just beneath the surface, waiting to burst through? Consistency requires faith. The belief that the process is working, even when the progress is invisible. Consistency builds identity. Here's the deeper truth. Consistency isn't just about results, it's about identity. When you write daily, you become a writer. When you exercise daily, you become an athlete. When you save daily, you become financially disciplined. Each repetition reinforces who you are. Over time, your identity becomes unshakable, not because of one big event, but because of countless small ones. Pause for a moment. What identity are your daily habits building for you right now? Real-life examples of compounding. A man decides to read 10 pages every night. 10 years later, he's read over 3,600 chapters, equivalent to a personal library of wisdom. A woman invests $5 a day. In 30 years, with compounding interest, that tiny habit grows into hundreds of thousands of dollars. A musician practices 20 minutes daily. Over decades, they master their craft at a level most people only dream of. Small actions, multiplied by time, create extraordinary lives. The snowball effect. Think of pushing a small snowball down a hill. At first, it's tiny, but as it rolls, it gathers more snow, gets bigger, and moves faster. By the time it reaches the bottom, it's unstoppable. Consistency is that first push. Each day you show up, the snowball grows, and eventually, it becomes a force too powerful to ignore. The hidden compounding of neglect. Remember, compounding works both ways. Missing a workout once isn't a big deal. Eating a donut once won't ruin your health, but repeated neglect compounds just like repeated discipline. Skip workouts for a year, and the decline is obvious. Overspend a little every day, and debt grows heavy. Waste small amounts of time daily, and years slip away. Consistency is always happening. The only question is, are you compounding toward growth or decline? Your next step. Here's your challenge. Stop underestimating small actions. Commit to one simple habit and do it daily. Don't worry about results right now. Focus on consistency and let compounding do its work. Because years from now, when people look at your success, they won't see the small daily actions that built it. But you'll know, and you'll smile, knowing consistency was the real secret. Pause and reflect. What's one small habit you can commit to daily for the next 30 days, trusting the compound effect to work? If this message resonates with you, drop your answer in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the next chapter on your journey. Chapter 10. The Plateau of Latent Potential. Have you ever worked hard at something only to feel like nothing was happening? You exercised for weeks but didn't lose weight. You saved money for months but barely saw your bank account grow. You studied daily but still felt like a beginner. It's frustrating. And this is the moment where most people quit. They think, if I'm not seeing results, it must not be working. But here's the truth. Progress is often invisible at first. Habits take time to reveal their impact, and the real transformation is happening beneath the surface, long before the world sees it. The ice cube metaphor. Picture a block of ice sitting on a table in a cold room. The temperature is 25 degrees. You raise it to 26. Nothing happens. Then 27, 28, 29, still nothing. It's not until the room hits 32 degrees that the ice begins to melt. Now, was it the 1-degree shift from 31 to 32 that made the change? No, it was the cumulative effect of all the degrees before it. Each one was essential, even if it looked like nothing was happening. Your habits are like that. Day after day, you may see no visible change, but under the surface, momentum is building. One day, you'll hit your own 32 degrees, and the results will pour out. Pause and ask yourself, are you giving up at 31 degrees, right before the breakthrough? The Valley of Disappointment. This hidden phase of progress is often called the Valley of Disappointment. It's the gap between effort and visible reward. People expect linear progress put in effort, get instant results. But in reality, progress is exponential. It feels flat at first, then suddenly skyrockets. The valley is the hardest part, but it's also where winners are made. Those who persist through the valley eventually reach the breakthrough. Those who quit never experience it. The power of latent potential. Think of a seed planted underground. For weeks, nothing appears above the soil. But beneath the surface, roots are spreading, preparing for growth. One day, the sprout breaks through, and soon, a tree towers tall. That unseen buildup is latent potential, the hidden power inside your consistent habits. Every action you take is like watering the seed, even if you don't see the sprout yet. Why patience matters more than intensity. Here's a paradox. We live in a world addicted to speed, but true transformation demands patience. Fast results are seductive, but they rarely last. Slow, steady growth often feels boring, but it compounds into greatness. If you can learn to love the process, not just the outcome, you'll never fall into the trap of quitting too soon. Pause for a moment. Are you chasing instant gratification, or are you willing to trust the long game? Stories of hidden progress. The writer who published blog posts for years with little recognition, until one article went viral and his audience exploded overnight. The athlete who trained for a decade in obscurity before becoming an overnight champion. The investor who faithfully contributed small amounts for years before compounding turned those deposits into real wealth. In each case, Success looked sudden to the outside world, but it was years of latent potential finally breaking through. How to survive the plateau. So how do you keep going when results feel invisible? Track your actions, not just outcomes. Celebrate the process of showing up, even when you don't see results yet. Remember the ice cube. Every small effort is raising the temperature toward your breakthrough. Focus on identity. Each repetition reinforces who you are, regardless of external progress. Trust the process. The plateau of latent potential is not a sign of failure. It's proof that growth is underway. Think of it like charging a battery. For a long time, nothing seems to happen, until suddenly the device springs to life. Your habits are charging the battery of your future. Trust that the energy is building. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Pick one area of your life where you've been frustrated by slow results. Reframe it. Instead of seeing no progress, see hidden roots growing beneath the soil. Keep watering, keep waiting, because the breakthrough is coming. Pause and reflect. Where in your life might you be standing at 31 degrees, just 1 degree away from a breakthrough? If this spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe so you don't miss the next step in your growth journey. Chapter 11. Systems versus Goals. Everyone loves to talk about goals. Set big goals, they say. Dream big, aim high, shoot for the stars. And while goals can be inspiring, they often leave us feeling frustrated, because goals are about the finish line. But life is lived in the laps along the way. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The problem with goals. Goals sound good on paper, but they come with traps. They create a win-or-lose mindset. If you hit the goal, you feel successful. If you don't, you feel like a failure, even if you made huge progress. They delay happiness. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I lose 20 pounds, when I get the promotion, when I save $10,000. But when you finally get there, you just set a new goal, and the cycle continues. They're temporary. Even if you succeed, what happens next? If you run a marathon but don't build a system for staying active, you'll stop running after the race. Pause and ask yourself, how many times have you hit a goal only to slip back because you didn't have a system to sustain it? Why systems win? Every time. Systems are the daily processes that create results. They aren't about the finish line, they're about the path. A goal is to write a book. A system is to write 500 words every morning. A goal is to get fit. A system is to exercise for 30 minutes 5 times a week. A goal is to save $5,000. A system is to automatically transfer $10 a day into savings. Goals give you direction. Systems give you progress. And progress is what actually changes your life. Identity over outcome. When you focus on systems, something powerful happens. You stop obsessing about the outcome and start reinforcing your identity. A runner isn't defined by finishing a marathon, they're defined by running regularly. A writer isn't defined by publishing a bestseller, they're defined by showing up to write. A healthy person isn't defined by hitting a target weight, they're defined by daily healthy choices. Systems are proof of who you are. Every repetition is evidence. Pause for a moment. Are your daily systems proving the identity you want to build? The goal hangover. Have you ever achieved a big goal and felt empty afterward? That's the goal hangover. You worked hard, sacrificed, pushed yourself, and once you reached it, there was nothing left to chase. But when you live by systems, you never run out of purpose. Every day brings another chance to practice your process. And as you refine your system, you get better, not just once, but continually. Stories of systems in action. Think about Olympic athletes. Yes, they have goals. Gold medals, world records. But the medal isn't what makes them champions. It's the system of daily training, diet, rest, and recovery. Without the system, the goal is impossible. Or consider entrepreneurs. The successful ones don't just set revenue targets, they build systems, marketing strategies, hiring processes, product development cycles that generate results again and again. It's never the one-time effort. It's always the system. How to build your own system. Here's how to shift from goal-driven thinking to system-driven living. Define the outcome. Goals still matter. They tell you the direction. But don't stop there. Identify the process. What small actions, repeated consistently, will make the outcome inevitable? Simplify it. If the system feels overwhelming, shrink it until it's sustainable. Track the process, not the result. Instead of obsessing over the scale, track how many days you exercise. Instead of counting followers, track how often you post. The beauty of systems is that they create results even when you're not chasing them. Fall in love with the process. Success isn't about hitting the jackpot once. It's about building a machine that pays out over and over. And the best way to build that machine is to fall in love with the process. When you fall in love with the process of writing, you'll publish books. When you fall in love with the process of training, you'll achieve peak fitness. When you fall in love with the process of learning, you'll become wise and adaptable. Fall in love with the system, and the results will take care of themselves. Pause and reflect. What's one system you could design today that would make your success automatic? Your next step. Here's your challenge. Take one of your current goals and reframe it into a system. Don't just say, I want to outcome. Instead, write, I will system. Commit to the process and let the results follow naturally. Pause and reflect. Are you living by goals that expire or by systems that last? If this helped you shift perspective, share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the next chapter of your growth journey. Chapter 12. Harnessing Keystone Habits. Some habits are just ordinary. They make life a little better, but they stay contained. And then there are keystone habits. These are the habits that act like levers. Pull on one, and everything else in your life shifts. Keystone habits create ripple effects. They don't just change what you do, they change how you see yourself and how other habits fall into place. Master a keystone habit, and it becomes the anchor for transformation across every area of your life. What are keystone habits? A keystone habit is a single behavior that sets off a chain reaction of other positive changes. It's like knocking over the first domino, except this domino tips over dozens more you didn't even see lined up. For example, exercise. People who start exercising regularly often begin eating healthier, sleeping better, and managing stress more effectively. Journaling. Writing daily not only clarifies thoughts, but also improves focus, reduces anxiety, and boosts gratitude. Cooking at home. This one habit saves money, improves nutrition, strengthens family bonds, and creates more mindfulness around food. Keystone habits don't just add, they multiply. Pause and ask yourself, what's one habit in your life that, if practiced consistently, would naturally make other parts of your life better? The ripple effect in action. Consider someone who commits to running 3 times a week. At first, it's just about fitness, but soon they notice they're more mindful about nutrition. They don't want to undo their progress with junk food. They also sleep more because recovery matters. Their mood improves from endorphins. They gain confidence, which spills into work and relationships. It wasn't just running. It was the domino that tipped over everything else. Why keystone habits work. Keystone habits are powerful because they shift your identity. Exercising makes you think of yourself as a healthy person. Journaling makes you see yourself as a reflective thinker. That new identity influences countless other decisions. Create momentum. Small wins from one habit give you energy to pursue others. Send ripple signals. They tell the brain and body, we're moving in a new direction. The most common keystone habits. Here are a few habits that research and stories have shown to create the biggest ripple effects. Regular exercise boosts discipline, mood, and energy. Daily journaling or gratitude practice sharpens self-awareness and reduces stress. Mindful eating or cooking at home improves health and saves money. Consistent sleep schedule fuels productivity, focus, and emotional balance. Planning the day ahead creates clarity and momentum. But remember, your keystone habit might be different. The key is to find the one that moves the most dominoes for you. Real stories of transformation. A busy executive started journaling for just 5 minutes a day. Over time, she noticed patterns in her stress and decisions. By writing them down, she made better choices, cut back on unnecessary commitments, and improved her leadership. A college student committed to making his bed every morning. That small act of order spread into his studies, his diet, even his confidence. It wasn't about the bed, it was about the message. I'm someone who takes care of my space and myself. These weren't grand gestures. They were small keystone shifts with massive ripple effects. How to identify your keystone habit. Ask yourself 3 questions. What habit would naturally improve other areas of my life if I committed to it? Which habit gives me energy, clarity, or confidence when I do it consistently? Which habit aligns with the identity I want to build? Your keystone habit should feel like a root system, nourishing many branches at once. Pause and reflect. If you could pick one habit to anchor your future, what would it be? Start small, grow wide. Remember, keystone habits don't have to start big. The runner doesn't need to run a marathon. The writer doesn't need to fill a journal daily. The cook doesn't need to prepare gourmet meals. Begin with a small version. A 10-minute jog, 1 sentence in a journal, 1 home-cooked dinner per week. Over time, the ripple grows. Your keystone, your legacy. When you build a keystone habit, you're not just improving yourself, you're shaping the story of your life. You're creating a foundation strong enough to carry your future. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about choosing the one thing that changes everything. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Identify one keystone habit to commit to for the next 30 days. Start small. Stay consistent. Let the ripple effect unfold naturally. Because when you harness the power of a keystone habit, you don't just change one thing, you change your entire life. Pause and reflect. Which keystone habit could you build this month that would naturally make other parts of your life better? If you found this chapter powerful, share your keystone habit in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the next chapter. Chapter 13. The Social Side of Habits. Take a moment and think about the people you spend the most time with. Friends, co-workers, family members. Without realizing it, you've probably adopted some of their habits. Maybe you watch the same shows they do, eat the same food, or even copy their phrases. That's no accident. Human beings are wired for imitation. We don't just learn habits from ourselves, we absorb them from the people around us. And that means your social environment is one of the most powerful forces shaping your behavior. We become who we're around. There's an old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Science backs this up. If your friends exercise regularly, you're more likely to move too. If your coworkers complain constantly, you'll find yourself complaining more. If your family values learning, you'll probably read and study more. Habits are contagious. They spread through groups just like laughter or yawns. Pause and ask yourself, who are the 5 people most present in your life, and what habits are you catching from them? The pull of belonging. We are social creatures. Deep down, we crave belonging. And to belong, we often mirror the behaviors of the group. This is why accountability groups, support networks, and mastermind circles work so well. You're not just relying on your willpower, you're relying on the group's expectations. On the flip side, this is also why unhealthy groups can drag you down without you realizing it. If your circle normalizes unhealthy eating, gossip, procrastination, or overspending, you'll find yourself slipping into the same patterns. Not because you're weak, but because you want to belong. Leverage. Peer pressure for good. Peer pressure isn't always bad. It depends on the direction. Imagine joining a running club. At first, you might feel out of shape compared to everyone else. but because you want to fit in, you start running more. Over time, you rise to the group's level. This is the magic of choosing your tribe carefully. Surround yourself with people already living the way you want to live, and their habits will rub off on you. The power of accountability. Accountability is one of the strongest habit-forming forces in existence. When you know someone is watching, you act differently. Think about it. You're more likely to show up to the gym if a friend is waiting for you. You're more likely to meet a deadline if a colleague is counting on you. You're more likely to stick with a promise if you've announced it publicly. Accountability transforms habits from private struggles into shared commitments. Pause and reflect. Who in your life could you invite to hold you accountable to the habits you want to build? Stories of social influence. A man wanted to quit smoking, but every time he hung out with his smoking buddies, he relapsed. When he joined a hiking group instead, he not only quit, he built fitness habits that lasted. A woman wanted to become a writer. She joined a writing community where people shared their daily word counts. Seeing others post progress motivated her to write every day, and she eventually published her first book. The difference wasn't willpower, it was social design. How to build a supportive circle. If you want to master your habits, surround yourself with people who reinforce your identity. Join groups where your desired behavior is the norm. If you want to get fit, join a gym, a running club, or a yoga class. Seek role models. Find mentors or examples of people living the way you want to live. Create accountability. Share your goals publicly, or partner with someone pursuing the same habits. Becoming an influencer of habits. It's not just about receiving influence, you also give it. Your habits affect those around you more than you realize. When you choose healthier food, others notice. When you practice gratitude, it spreads positivity. When you show discipline, it inspires. By improving your habits, you create a ripple that can change families, workplaces, even communities. Pause and reflect. What message are your habits sending to the people who watch you every day? Choose your tribe, choose your future. At the end of the day, your social circle is either pulling you closer to your best self or keeping you stuck in old patterns. You don't always have to cut people out, but you do have to be intentional about where you invest the majority of your time and energy. Surround yourself with people who embody the identity you want to build. Because when you walk with the right people, their habits become yours, and yours become unshakable. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Take a hard look at your circle. Identify one person or group that lifts you higher and spend more time with them this week. And identify one influence that pulls you down and set healthy boundaries. Because when you choose your tribe, you choose your future. Pause and reflect. Pause. Are the people around you helping you become who you want to be, or holding you back? If this sparked something in you, share your reflections in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the next chapter in your growth journey. Chapter 14. Resilience and Habit. Restart. No matter how committed you are, no matter how carefully you design your environment, there will come a day when you stumble. You'll miss the workout. You'll break the diet. You'll lose your streak. And in that moment, a dangerous voice creeps in. See? You failed. Maybe this just isn't for you. But here's the truth. Falling off track doesn't make you a failure. Staying off track does. The real secret to lasting success isn't perfection, it's resilience. Why failure is part of the process. Every successful person you admire has failed, probably more times than you think. Athletes miss workouts. Writers skip days. Entrepreneurs launch products that flop. The difference between success and failure isn't the absence of mistakes. It's how quickly you recover. Winners don't avoid setbacks. They bounce back faster. Pause and ask yourself, how do you usually respond when you slip up? Do you restart quickly? Or do you spiral into guilt and procrastination? The never miss twice rule. Here's a powerful mindset shift. It's okay to miss once, just never miss twice. Skip the gym today? Fine. Don't skip tomorrow. Ate junk food at lunch? Okay. Eat clean at dinner. Missed journaling last night? Do it first thing this morning. One miss is human. Two misses start a pattern. The key is to catch yourself quickly and get back on track before the slide becomes a spiral. Breaking the all-or-nothing trap. Many people quit because of perfectionism. They think, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. But perfectionism is just another form of procrastination. Progress doesn't demand perfection. If you can't run 5 miles, run 1. If you can't meditate for 20 minutes, sit quietly for 2. If you can't save $100, save $10. Small, imperfect action beats no action every time. Resilience is a muscle. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Every time you fail and restart, you're training that muscle. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They fall dozens of times, but never once do they say, maybe walking just isn't for me. They fall, they get up, and eventually, walking becomes second nature. That's resilience, and it's available to you too. Reframing failure as feedback. Instead of seeing failure as proof you're weak, see it as data. Ask yourself, what triggered this slip? Was my environment stacked against me? Was my system too complicated? Was I trying to rely on willpower instead of design? Failure is feedback. It's not the end. It's an invitation to adjust and try again smarter. Pause for a moment. What failure in your life could you reframe as valuable feedback instead? Stories of resilient comebacks. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Each failure was just data on what didn't work. Serena Williams has lost plenty of matches, but each loss fueled her adjustments, leading to greater victories. Countless authors faced rejection after rejection before publishing books that became global bestsellers. Their greatness wasn't built on flawless execution, it was built on relentless restarts. Build a restart ritual. One of the best ways to recover quickly is to create a restart ritual, a simple action that signals to yourself, I'm back on track. If you break your diet, your restart ritual might be drinking a glass of water and prepping a healthy snack. If you skip the gym, your restart ritual might be doing 5 push-ups to prove you're still in the game. If you miss journaling, your restart ritual might be writing 1 sentence today. The ritual doesn't erase the slip, it resets your momentum. The long view. Remember, success isn't about what happens in a single day. It's about what happens across years. Missing 1 day won't ruin you. Even missing a week won't define you. What defines you is the pattern you build over a lifetime. Consistency is measured not in streaks, but in persistence. Your next step. Here's your challenge. Pick one habit you've struggled with in the past. Imagine slipping up again. Now, instead of quitting, design a restart ritual, a small, quick action that gets you back on track. Practice it when the time comes. Because resilience isn't about never falling, it's about always rising. Pause and reflect. When you fall off track, what's your plan to restart quickly instead of quitting? If this chapter helped you rethink failure, share your restart ritual in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the next lesson in your growth journey. Chapter 15. Designing a lifestyle of continuous growth. Think about the seasons of life you've lived through so far. Maybe you've had seasons of learning, seasons of struggle, seasons of achievement. Each one required different habits, different rhythms. And here's the truth. Growth never ends. The person you are today won't be enough for the dreams you'll chase tomorrow. That's why the ultimate goal of habit building isn't just short-term results. It's designing a lifestyle of continuous growth. Why growth must be ongoing. Too many people treat growth like a project. They say, I'll work on myself for 30 days, or until I hit this milestone, then I'm done. But growth doesn't work that way. If you stop growing, you start declining. Think of it like fitness. You don't exercise for a month, hit your target weight, and then quit forever. If you do, your health slips back. Growth is the same. It's not an event, it's a way of life. Pause and ask yourself, do you see personal growth as a one-time project or as a lifelong journey? The power of evolutionary habits. The habits that served you 5 years ago might not be the habits you need today, and the habits you need today won't necessarily serve you 5 years from now. A college student might build study habits, but later they need career habits. A new parent might focus on patience and energy, but later they need financial planning. An entrepreneur might start with hustle habits, then later need habits of delegation and leadership. Your habits must evolve as your seasons change. Growth means asking, what does the next version of me require? Stay curious. Stay learning. One of the most powerful growth habits you can build is curiosity. Lifelong learners never stagnate. They ask questions, seek new knowledge, and adapt. Read books that challenge your thinking. Listen to people with different perspectives. Try new skills, even if you're a beginner again. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you stop growing. The habit of reflection. Continuous growth doesn't just come from adding new habits, it also comes from reflecting on old ones. Take time regularly to ask, what's working for me right now? What habits no longer serve me? What habits could unlock the next level of my life? Reflection ensures you don't stay stuck in yesterday's patterns when tomorrow demands something new. Pause and reflect. When was the last time you reviewed your own habits and asked if they still fit your current goals? Designing for adaptability. A growth lifestyle isn't about rigid routines that never change. It's about adaptable systems. If you're injured, you may need to replace running with yoga. If your career shifts, you may need to trade study time for networking. If you become a parent, your morning routine might shrink, but your patience practice grows. Adaptability keeps your growth alive through every transition. Stories of lifelong growth. Nelson Mandela didn't stop growing after prison. He adapted into a leader who built bridges instead of walls. Warren Buffett still reads and studies daily, even after decades of success. Oprah Winfrey reinvented her career multiple times, always embracing new opportunities to learn and lead. The greatest lives aren't static, they're dynamic, built on a commitment to evolve. Guardrails for continuous growth. To live a lifestyle of growth, put a few guardrails in place. Keep a growth routine. Even 10 minutes of daily learning compounds. Surround yourself with challengers. Be around people who stretch you, not just those who agree with you. Revisit your identity. Every few months ask, who am I becoming? Does my life reflect that? The joy of the journey. Continuous growth isn't about constantly feeling not enough. It's about joy in the process. It's about knowing you're moving forward, exploring new levels of potential, and leaving behind a trail of progress. When you live this way, growth becomes exciting, not exhausting. You wake up with curiosity, knowing that today is another chance to discover a better version of yourself. Pause and ask yourself, what's one area of life where you're ready to evolve into the next version of you? Your next step. Here's your challenge. Design one habit that ensures you'll keep growing no matter what season you're in. It could be daily reading, weekly reflection, or monthly skill building. Whatever it is, let it anchor you to the path of lifelong growth. Because success isn't about reaching a final destination, it's about becoming a person who never stops moving forward. Pause and reflect. If you committed to lifelong growth, what would change about how you live today? If this chapter inspired you, drop your answer in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for the final chapter in this journey. Chapter 16. Your Legacy of Small Wins. One day, years from now, someone will look at your life and see the story you wrote. They'll notice your achievements, your character, the way you showed up for others. And what they won't see, but what made all the difference, are the small daily wins that shaped it all. This is the final truth about habits. They are not just about productivity or personal success. They are about the legacy you leave behind. Why legacy is built daily. Legacy isn't written in one moment of glory. It's written in the thousands of small, unseen choices you make every single day. Choosing kindness over anger. saving instead of spending, reading instead of scrolling, exercising instead of sitting still. These choices might feel small in the moment, but together, they shape the person you become, the person people remember. Pause and ask yourself, if someone followed you around for a week, what habits would they see defining your life? The ripple effect of habits. Your habits don't just affect you, they influence everyone around you. When you choose discipline, you inspire your children. When you practice gratitude, you uplift your friends. When you pursue growth, you challenge your coworkers. The ripple spreads further than you imagine. One person living with intentional habits can impact families, communities, even generations. Becoming the example. Think about the people who inspired you most in life. Chances are, it wasn't just what they said, it was how they lived. Their consistency, their discipline, their kindness, their courage. That's the power of example. By living your habits, you become proof to others that change is possible. And someday, someone will say, because of their example, I believed I could do it too. From small wins to greatness. It's easy to think greatness comes from massive, world-shaking actions. But the truth is, greatness is built on ordinary daily choices. The musician who becomes legendary didn't just perform once, they practiced daily. The entrepreneur who builds an empire didn't just launch big, they made consistent decisions over years. The parent who raises kind, resilient children didn't just lecture, they modeled love in small daily actions. Greatness isn't a leap. It's a series of steps, your small wins, compounded over a lifetime. The story of you. At the end of your life, people won't remember the goals you wrote down. They'll remember the habits you lived out. They'll remember how you treated them, how you carried yourself, how you showed up. And you'll know that your story was written not by luck, not by chance, but by the systems and small wins you chose, day after day. Pause for a moment and reflect. What story are your habits writing right now? A call to action. So here we are. 16 chapters. Dozens of principles. Countless examples. But none of this matters unless you take action. Your transformation won't come from hearing these words. It will come from choosing one habit, one system, one small win today, and then repeating it tomorrow, and the day after, until your life has shifted so much you can hardly recognize who you used to be. Your legacy starts now. Here's your challenge. Decide on the legacy you want to leave. Then choose the daily habits that will build it, brick by brick. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today with the smallest, simplest win you can. Because when you live a life of small wins, your legacy won't be words on a page. It will be living proof, carried in the lives of everyone you've touched. Pause and reflect. What's the legacy you want your habits to create? And what small win will you choose today to begin building it? If this book has inspired you, share your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more journeys of growth. And remember, your future is written in the habits you choose now.